Hello and welcome to the Matt and Ez show. I'm Matt.
And I am Ez, and friends, we are back with a major review.
Yeah. How do we begin this? As I guess the question is this the best Batman movie ever? Yes. Is
Yes.
this the best DC movie ever? Yes.
Yeah.
Is this the best superhero movie? Yes. Is this the best movie? I'm going to say yes. I think
Wow.
this is the single best movie I've ever seen in my life. Period.
Wow.
Period. End of story. I would put it right there with Empire Strikes Back, Jurassic Park, The Godfather, Gone with the Wind, Titanic, Return of the King, you name it. I
Wow.
think this is an absolute masterpiece.
I can't, honestly, man, I can't argue with you. Sometimes I like to be kind of, I don't know, Matt's a Batman guy, I'm a Superman guy, but I gotta say, I'm blown away. I was blown away by this. I actually turned to Lottie in the movie theater when we were watching it, and I said, "This is amazing. It was amazing. I mean, it was stunning." And I was like, "This is probably one of the
It's
best movies I've ever seen."
gorgeous.
Said that while we were watching it.
It
So,
Yeah, so I want to hear your opinion first because I'm a die-hard Batman fan, and I will
okay.
gush and rant and rave for probably the majority of this. But so I want Ezra's, as we're both superhero guys, we're both Ez and I are DC guys too. Not saying we aren't Marvel guys. I'm a Marvel guy too, but Ez is definitely a Superman guy too. So I really want his opinion. And then
Right.
of course we can compare it to other Batman, and we'll get into all that. Is he the best person to play Batman, the suit, the whole deal?
Yeah. Okay. So, and I was trying to pull this up. If while I'm ranting here about this, maybe you can just find a few of these for me. But I was trying to pull up, and because it's so new, it just came out just yesterday, and the riddles. Riddle me this, riddle me that. I mean,
Yeah.
Matt, like that for me. I have the cast pulled up here too because I was so blown away by the acting, just like the visuals in this, the dialogue, the storytelling. I just kind of couldn't believe it. Like what's his name here? Let me Commissioner Gordon, Jeffrey Wright. His voice when he's reading the clues. Does this mean anything to you?
Mhm.
Like the whole rhyming scheme, I was just like, I'm locked in. Like the music was awesome. There were so many good sequences where even though it's raining, it felt like Gotham, totally like Gotham. There was rain, it was dark, it had really good lighting. And anybody go back and watch the reflections off of the bat suit and with the lights that are going on and as he moves around. And like there was and this is gonna seem like a simple thing, but they're looking out across they're in the city and you can see like police car lights coming like down the road reflecting or whatever, just going by and then disappearing. Like a little thing where just a cop car was going and it disappeared. And you feel the presence of cops moving around the city trying to manage what's going on, right? This crime sort of these crime bosses. You got the freaking Penguin in here. You get the Penguin, the Riddler. There was a mention of the Joker. You had so many really really cool characters. Who was the guy, the mob boss? What is his
Carmine
name?
Falcone.
Falcone. Yeah,
Carmine
Falcone was in
Falcone,
there.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, God, dude. So it would to me, it was just absolutely phenomenal. Robert Pattinson is is amazing. Cedric Diggory, my friends.
Hey, yeah.
Edward Cullen is here,
And right now.
and he's playing Batman, and I felt and he totally felt like Batman. He is Batman, and I couldn't believe it. Let me see here. What was her? Oh my gosh, my list of characters here. Here we go. Playing Catwoman, right? Zoe
Mhm.
Kravitz.
Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah,
She was
awesome.
who's Lenny Kravitz's daughter and
Right.
Jason Momoa's stepdaughter.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just anyway, I felt like It was so well cast, and so who plays so Carmine Falcone? That's
John Turturro,
John Turturro. I
who is when I first think of him, I think of it as like a comedian. Like he
Me
does
too.
comedy because he's in Mr. Deeds. Remember, he's the butler in Mr. Deeds,
Right,
and he's in Transformers, where he's sort of that like comedic relief, like government, guy.
right. He killed it. Absolutely killed it, and it was stellar. I was the whole way trying to guess and figure out like what is going on. What is the Riddler talking about? And by the way, what's his name?
Paul Dano.
Paul Dano.
Yeah,
Matt, I mean, like
he's really
scary.
good.
The first
Yeah,
scene, okay, so I had my wife there, Lottie, and she was like, so the first scene where he's standing behind the mayor, holy, it was like a horror film for a hot
yeah.
second. Scared. It was excellent. Absolutely excellent. I can't wait to show my dad and other people.
Yes. Yeah. So some of the things that I like really, really loved about this movie. First and foremost, I will be shocked if this movie does not win an Oscar for cinematography.
Yep.
Now, superhero movies historically do not do like well in the Oscars.
Mhm.
Fortunately, well, I guess, I'm not an anti-Marvel, whatever, but DC does do better historically
Mhm.
in the Oscars than Marvel. And I think that's just a little bit of tone, right? The Joker, Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor. Heath Ledger won Best Supporting Actor. The Suicide Squad won one for like sound or like costume design, something. It won one. So DC films haven't necessarily not win. They've not, won Oscars, but I cannot think of for the life of me another movie that is sort of shot this well. It's almost as if it's like Sin City, but it's
Mhm.
like Sin City is like so stylized, right? Where everything's black and white except for the red. This movie is done with lighting. It's all
Yeah.
like orange, soft orange
Yes.
and blue. But so much of it is like I'm a Zack Snyder fan, and I know some people are, some people aren't.
Right.
Zack Snyder is very good. He's obviously done some of the other DC stuff, like the DC Extended Universe, like Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman and Justice League, right? And he obviously did 300. Zack Snyder, there's a lot of moments you can pause his movies and you can line it up frame for frame with a graphic novel, right? Like the shot of Batman where Doomsday is shooting at him in the death, not the death, but it's based off the death and return of Superman, but where Batman is fighting Doomsday and the energy beam is coming at him in Batman vs Superman, and it's just like the lightning snaps and you can see Batman there, and then he like
Yeah.
turns and fires away. Like that type of stuff is pulled straight from graphic novels. So Zack Snyder is very good at making something look like a graphic novel. This movie, Matt Reeves, makes it feel like a graphic novel or a comic. And that is like the game changer.
Right. Right.
It's like it's literally it's the whole thing.
Mhm.
It's like it's not just like one thing where like even the Dark Knight and some of these other Batman movies, like there's aspects of it I like, but it's rare that I've kind of like I really love like the whole thing. And sometimes there's stuff that I love but I don't love the whole thing. I mean, you can look at all the Batman movies and sort of say that, right? Like I like this, I don't like that. Like The Dark Knight for me, the Dark Knight trilogy,
Yeah.
with the exception of Batman Begins because it's different. The one thing I can't get over is, I'm not gonna lie, my least favorite bat suit is Christian Bale's of all of
Oh,
them.
really?
And it's because of the stupid cow where it's like just around like his goatee area as
Oh,
opposed to
yeah.
like the whole face.
Right.
And it's just like I just always not liked his bat suit.
Right. You're right.
I've never ever liked it. To me, it's like
Yeah.
Michael Keaton's is still like the best.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, that's like one aspect I like. Whereas this movie, man, I just like there's nothing I dislike and there's a lot that I love. And
Mhm.
so for me, that's why I'm like, this is my favorite. This I can tell you right now, this is the Batman movie that I will watch over and over
Yeah.
and over again.
Yeah, because it really you almost have to. The way that it is done, I thought was really cool because it's good for a rewatch. There are tons of clues. So I looked up some articles and other people breaking down Easter eggs, and there are clues all over the place. Like
Yeah,
that's the whole point. They wanted to lay in these riddles. Does any of this mean anything to you? You know, like what? And it's just like this is for the Batman, and then like all the different things as to where I'll see you in hell. I'll like giving him clues as to where to go. The
right.
website. Did you know that the website at the end credits
Yeah, it's a
is a
website you can go to. Yeah.
what? And then
Yeah,
like, it's
they're doing
basically like, you didn't get enough, there's still more riddles to kind of
yeah. There's a lot of guerrilla marketing for this movie,
yeah.
which is awesome, which is just so cool. Yeah, I mean, immediately again, the first thing you're going to notice is the tone. The tone of this movie, the way it looks and feels, it's so film noir. It's also the only detective movie that we have, right?
Mhm.
It's the only like true detective Batman movie
Right.
that we really have. He feels like a detective, which is kind of, what he is. Um it's also, I can say, hands down the best Gotham City. No other Gotham City comes close.
Yeah.
I would
No.
I would say to me the 3 best Gothams we ever get are this, Batman Returns Gotham, and Batman Begins Gotham.
Right.
But this one is a leagues ahead of it because it's almost its own character. They're always like they always talk about like this city is so bad. Like Batman Begins actually, I think probably does it the second best in terms of actually building up Gotham City as sort of its own character, where you're dealing with Carmine Falcone in that one, right? And you're dealing with the Scarecrow and like that movie, like Gotham is much darker. Then you get to the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises, and it's like a lot of the stuff's filmed in the day. This almost this entire movie takes place at night.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the whole movie
Yeah, I was
pretty much
actually
take place. I think there's, like, literally, like, 3 scenes that take place during the day.
yeah, and Matt, I was shocked at one point when he's wearing the suit too, I saw, like, the sun was starting to rise, and he was still just looking over the city before he went back to be Bruce for a moment, and it wasn't even like the sun was out. It has
Right.
just started to rise, and he was calling it a night, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh." This is
Yeah.
like because it stood out. You're like, "Okay, I haven't seen daylight this whole time," and then there it was breaking, and I was like, "Oh my god." Um, I thought, I mean, yeah, dude, there's so many things in this, like the Batmobile was awesome, like him riding on a motorcycle was sick.
That's the Batmobile scene is the best it to me is the best scene in the movie.
Yeah, you like that? Yeah,
That was the scene where I was like, "I love this movie." Like, when
really. Yeah.
yeah, that was the moment
The
in which I
penguin
was like,
chase?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good. That's the other thing too about this is the only because I did a review, just initial review on my YouTube channel.
Mhm.
The scene, okay, so like again, obviously, guys, this is all spoilers.
Yeah.
But the scene, okay, so the scene where you have Catwoman, right, and she's stealing the money, and Batman's there with Gordon, and Gordon's getting shot down, and then the Penguin's there, and then he starts the Penguin chase. When you hear the Batmobile fire up, and I love this Batmobile, by the way,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
the tech in this movie, first of all, like, he doesn't fly around with like his cape and all this stuff because he's like still becoming Batman. This is technically described as year 2 Batman. So he's been
Okay.
Batman for a bit, but it's not an origin story.
Yeah.
It feels like somewhat realistic,
Mhm.
right? It's like he's got some tools, but he hasn't completely figured it out yet, like he's got, like
Right.
as we see in all the other Batman movies, right? Where he's got all the gadgets and everything. Like he's still
Right.
kind of figuring this guy out. It looks like something that a billionaire and his butler could like figure out,
Mhm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, not saying that the other ones aren't bad. Like, you look at the Dark Knight, it's like, well, he's like a weapons developer and stuff like that. So he's gonna have this like army
Yeah.
tank and all this stuff. But I like this because it's like we're at like the second step in evolution, not the beginning step, and not like a late stage step.
Yeah.
So it's like he's still kind of getting out. It's cool. It also reminds me of, and there's so much of this in this whole movie, is they still do sort of pay homage to a lot of the other Batmen that have ever come. And it's like the first Batmobile we ever see is like, you think like Adam West Batman, it's just a souped up muscle car,
Mhm. Yeah.
like sports car. And that's what this is.
That's what this
It's not a
is. Yeah.
tank like the
Mhm.
Tumbler, and
Right.
it's not like this really elegant, long, sort of other
Yeah.
thing too. So I thought it looked awesome. But yeah, the scene where the car chase starts and he's like just racing through stuff, and he still messes up a bit. Like Robert Patterson's
Yeah.
Batman messes up a bit, and he still gets like hit a few times. So like
Right.
you can
Right.
tell he's like steps above people, but he's not like leagues above people,
Right.
which is fine. It adds to the theme of the whole movie because it adds weight to what he's doing and it makes it feel dangerous.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I've always loved about the character of Batman as opposed to other superheroes. Whereas, like, every superhero has the thing that sort of defines them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the reason I've always been drawn to Batman as opposed to like Superman is because Batman can die. He can get
Mm-hmm.
injured. He
Yep.
can do these things where he gets killed. And so every superhero you have to sort of define what's the angle I'm going to go at with this character. Like Superman's character, the thing I love about him is he's so powerful that I think in recent years they've realized the best way to tell his story isn't to have him just go in and like kryptonite everything. It's to have him be like, I'm this superhuman person, but I just want to be a human. And so you
Mm-hmm.
really pull on that human element of that.
Right.
Well, they really pull on the human element of Batman in this movie, which I think is great. And it's that struggle of like, I'm Batman. I don't want to be Bruce Wayne. And like him kind of figuring out, it's really kind of like him in the city,
Yeah.
which is like so cool.
Right.
So anyway, it's kind of this thing where where he's driving, you begin to see this too, like the vengeance, the rage, the like just barreling through stuff. But he's not like the Batman that we see in The Dark Knight, where he's like can swerve in and out of everything, and he's like above everyone. But the scene where the Penguin is looking, and the fuel tankers blow up again, it's gorgeous. It's like black, and everything is like black and orange and like shades of blue in this movie, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Fire, if you want to describe like the color palette, like imagine staring into a fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
Yeah.
dark, it's black, and there's like orange and blue flame, and that's like the whole movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so the Penguin's pulling through, the fire happens, and you see the car ramp up. Right? Like the Batmobile ramp up over. That is like the shot of this movie that's like, this is the whole deal.
Yeah.
Then when he knocks him over and the camera is turned like upside down, and so Batman is walking.
Yes.
You see the fire, but it's like going down because the camera's turned upside down. So much of the directing style of Matt Reeves in these camera shots, the only other person I can even compare it to is like M. Night Shyamalan. Like M. Night Shyamalan, right? Like remember Signs? Like it's all the a lot. He uses a lot of these like weird angles where like the camera basically gets like knocked over or something and it stays there.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like every other movie would like spin the camera around all this stuff where he sort of wants you to infer what's happening rather than showing you like what's happening. And sometimes I feel like that is a little bit more scary and more frightening.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times when Riddler kills somebody, you can kind of like see it, but the focus like cuts out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just adds weight. It's so
well, and
like,
and then he did a couple of those things too, where it was like when you could hear Batman before you saw him, right? You can hear this person breathing before you saw them. The whole thing starts off with you have to infer like, who is this looking through the binoculars?
Right.
The very first opening thing is like looking in on the mayor, and there's this boy with a sword, and it's his son, and you're like, whoa, who is this guy? Is this Batman checking up on people? No. Is it the Riddler? It had you kind of guessing and trying, as you said, to infer and figure things out all along the way, which was what made it really cool. You brought up a moment where like it's like, okay, Batman is he gets shot. He gets shot a couple of times. The shotgun from one of the Riddler's like extremist people. Then there was a moment where he was in the police station, surrounded. He comes awake and he's surrounded by literally 50 to 100 police officers, locked up. How was he going to get out of there? Right. And Gordon, he's leaning on Gordon to kind of help him clear the room. Like Commissioner Gordon. Well, what is he?
He's the best
captain in this. I think he's
he's not a commissioner yet, but it's the best. It's the best live action James Gordon. The only what's his? I always forget the guy who plays Jameson in the Spider-Man movies. I'm blanking on his name right now, but he's good. We just didn't get enough of him. I think we're going to. He's going to be in some more stuff. And then the guy who plays him in the show Gotham.
Okay.
does a good job as well as like a young Gordon. But I mean, he's by far the best Jim Gordon we've definitely ever seen on the big screen. And
Yeah.
their relationship is so good, right? Where he's protecting him, and then Batman has to punch him and then like race out of there.
Right, right.
So
And then
and they
later
get
on, he
that
follows
shot.
up with like, "Hey, man, you could have pulled that punch." And he was like, "I did."
I
You know?
know.
He's like,
Yeah.
"What?"
Yeah. So the opening, I
Yeah.
think is very important about that too, because as you said, when you hear Batman walking, right? Sometimes like
Mhm.
literally they show him so many times actually just walk out of the shadows.
Yeah.
And you see the fear of people just like looking into shadows. Like
Yes, that was good.
I love the opening where the gang, like the kid who actually plays he plays one of the Robins in Titans, the guy who's got his uh his face half painted.
Mhm.
He plays Tim Drake in the show Titans. He he's like, man, they're running. He's like, he just looks into the shadows and they see the bat signal and they're like scared and I love that they sort of focus the camera on it for a bit and you
Mhm.
can just be like, oh my God, is he there? I don't know. You know, like,
Yeah.
and that's the whole deal. Like
Yeah.
Batman inspires fear into
Right.
people to be like, no, I'm not going out tonight, man. The bat is
Yeah.
loose.
He's out there. The signal's up and everything, and it's just really
Yeah,
cool. The fact that he's walking around too in the crime scene was really
right.
cool, and everyone's kinda like, "Hey, what's going on here?" You know, this is kind of a weird element or whatever, but you could feel that it was something sort of new. And like you
Right.
said, even the bat signal was kind of,
New.
rickety and, you know, but still, yeah, all this fear was going on. And then, dude, there's so much history and, like, lore to this. I mean, just stuff with his father, right? And
Hmm.
with the renewal fund and this reporter. I thought the Riddler's father was gonna be the reporter. Like, the sins of the
Yeah.
father. Like, I actually thought for a second but he was just an orphan, I think, at the orphanage or
Right.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
either way, I mean,
Yeah, he was at this orphanage, at this sort of rundown orphanage, and then built like kind of like it's kind of almost at the end, like of like you can see like the Wayne Tower, and it's
mhm,
like Bruce Wayne is an orphan too, but look, like he gets to
yeah,
live in this tower. But the best part about that scene is the entire time it makes it feel like Riddler's figured out the biggest riddle of all, who is the Batman.
yeah,
Because you could see Batman standing there and he keeps saying Bruce Wayne, Bruce Wayne, Bruce
mhm,
Wayne. But you, as the viewer, you're like, oh, he knows who Batman is. And then he
mhm,
slips, and then you immediately see, and Robert Pattinson did such a great job in this. The second he slips and he says something about, like, Bruce Wayne is like our enemy. And it's like,
yeah,
then he knows, oh,
yeah,
I've got him. Like I've
yeah.
got him because
That
he
was good.
thinks but the whole scene, I mean, that scene goes
I
on
know,
for a little bit. You're thinking, oh man, he knows that he's Bruce Wayne.
right.
Oh no, he doesn't.
Right.
Okay.
Yep, that you're right, that because I was wondering about that. I thought maybe I was confused on that, but I thought it didn't seem like after that he did know, right? So that's
Yeah,
what I
he
was
no,
just
he
okay.
didn't.
It's
Yeah,
real
he yeah,
subtle because it wasn't like
right.
because
He
I was the
didn't.
whole time thinking, "Oh, shoot,
He knows who
is
Batman is.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is not good. How does the Riddler know this?" So, um, yeah, because God, and it really does a great thing where, in The Dark Knight, when, like, the Joker kinda has Batman on the ropes. Right?
Right.
He's got Christian Bale on the ropes. This one felt like I've never felt like the Riddler. I don't know, just because of what I've seen him in like the
Right.
animated TV series and then what they did with him back in
Jim
the day.
Carrey. Yeah.
Yeah, this felt heavy. When they showed his room and when they showed what he was doing to people that he had kidnapped and
Yeah.
taken over, I was like, "Oh my god." Like, the Riddler is not to be messed with.
Yeah, the
And
Riddler's a B. He's a B level Batman. I mean, the only A level Batman villain is the Joker, and then I'd say you
yeah,
probably move into the B level ones, which for me is like, I guess Catwoman's kind of there too because she's
right.
anti-hero. Sometimes
Yeah.
she's a villain. He has to stop her or whatever. But then also, yeah, I don't know. In the comics and everything, I feel like Two Face is to me, it's like Riddler's like C level. I don't know. I know
Yeah.
a lot of people view him as B, but it's only because the first thing the Riddler comes off as is like a knockoff Joker,
Mhm.
right? He kind of like that's just because they both wear green, and
Yeah.
that he kind of jokes and riddles and kind of that stuff.
Right.
So yeah, this is definitely the best and most menacing Riddler. There are some Batman comics and other stories too that do a good job with the Riddler. Which one of this is one of the ones that inspired it, which is the story called Hush. It's really 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 good.
Yeah.
There's a really good animated version of it as well, which I would recommend people check out. But yeah, I 100% agree with you. Is that the Riddler was actually like menacing and a figure here.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like, at the end too, he was like, "I'll see you in hell," meaning Arkham
Arkham,
Asylum, right?
bring him into the light,
Bring him into the
thinking
light.
expose him. No, you're gonna bring him into the light, and I'm gonna shoot him.
Right.
Wow,
He
did not
had
see that one coming.
everyone, I mean, just spinning. Like, he brought the rat out. He's almost like, in a way, kind of fighting for the people. You have the funeral,
Right,
and you've got the guy popping out there saying, like, almost talking about them versus us, and one of his radicals, and he's got his
right,
followers, and you're like, dang, the Riddler's
right.
got this city, you know.
So, by the way, stuff like that happens. So it's just crazy. So some things I like I didn't I guess like think about the first when I first watched this the first time, but then I was like watching like other people break it down because I watched
Yeah.
like hundreds of people, and the people who've seen it like 3 times.
Right.
Um, so first of all, in the movie, people keep calling him Vengeance, right? Because he
Mhm.
says at the very opening, "I'm Vengeance." Now, if you remember, there's a guy recording him, and so it's almost as if like that guy posts it, and so people are like, "Oh, that's like people don't." A lot of people don't necessarily know his
Uh-huh.
name is the Batman,
Right.
and so that's why because he says, "I'm Vengeance," not meaning I'm like.
Get it.
That's why
Yeah.
people keep joking and saying vengeance because that's probably the first time a lot of people have actually seen him
Mhm.
because a lot of people may not think he's real because
Yeah.
they haven't seen him. So that's super cool, right?
Right.
So that's one thing. Then the guy who says I'm vengeance at the very end, one of the Riddler's guys, was the guy at the funeral that like
Oh, he was.
stops Bruce Wayne. It's the same guy,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's the same guy. Okay. Okay. That
So
makes
he
a
was
lot of
one of the
sense.
people that joined the Riddler's like
Right.
gang.
Because they were all kind of watching. He had followers. He had pre-recorded some of these videos. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Man. All right. That's making a lot of sense now.
And I will say that the ending too, for me, like it doesn't necessarily come out of nowhere, but it's just like I love that the ending of this is like has so much stakes where you're like, oh my god, like this could
Yeah.
be really bad, like really, really, really bad. Because it's not just oh, we're gonna blow up the city. No. We're gonna flood the city, force everyone into one spot, then we're gonna shoot them.
Yep.
And it was like,
Mhm.
whoa.
Whoa.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And earlier you had seen on the chat things like rifles are good. You had seen that prior to
right.
him saying this, and you're like, "Oh my god." The other thing is, this is an early, like you said, a year 2 Batman, and yeah, he doesn't have all of the tech or all the gear or all the whatever weight to save everyone and to do all. He still Catwoman's there, which is great. But the city still gets flooded. I
Yeah.
think this is, you can see a Batman who would grow and say, I have to do more for the city. It's vulnerable in so many different ways. And he
Yeah.
says that at the end, right?
At the end, yeah, he does because when he hears the guy say that he's vengeance, I think what's happening is he's realizing like maybe like I need to become, and he says it, I need to become more
Yep.
than just a vigilante. I need to become like the hero
Yep.
for this city, which is awesome. It's
Which,
like it's the difference is like Batman operates outside of the law for good, whereas his villains like break the law for bad is
mhm.
kind of like the thing there.
Yeah.
And when he leads them out too, right? He goes
Oh, that
down, and
was great.
that's such a great shot too, where he's got the flare and he's walking and he's literally leading the people of Gotham out.
Right, right. Yeah, that was really cool. And then he's connected with the mayor. It's the little boy. It's the mayor's son who actually first kind of reaches out and takes his hand, and then that they had made a kind of a connection, which was awesome. Understanding like the his father and seeing that like him and Alfred, the relationship between he and Alfred, when he's flying back to try to get,
Andy Circus is Alfred, by the way. Can that guy just not like
it's great,
everything he does is just amazing. Like
phenomenal.
I've never seen Andy Circus in a bad in
No.
a bad role. Like even like him as Snoke in Star Wars, like he was
Yep.
great as Snoke. Then they killed him
Right.
off, which was dumb. But like I wanted more. I mean,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and
Yeah, no,
obviously
he
Gollum. I mean, it's crazy that
oh
that's like probably his most known character, and he's like a really amazing actor. But it's like he's known for this like CGI,
yeah,
character.
ridiculous. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
did it though. He actually did the acting for it,
Yeah.
like motion capture and stuff.
Right. Right. But yeah, that was great when Batman is going back there though, and he felt all of those emotions. He felt like he would never feel fear again like that. He thought he had gotten past all of that, and
Right.
then Alfred was someone who he cared about, and the
I
strike
thought they
was
might
on
have
him.
actually killed him.
Me too.
I
I
was
was
like,
worried.
I was like, you could actually kill Alfred
Yeah.
because it's just a different take. We don't know yet.
Right. Right. Yeah. So that was because he's like, and again, Robert Pattinson did such a great. He's like, rah, he's like yelling and like raging out as he's going, he's trying to call and all that stuff. It was really, really good. There was a lot of strong emotion in it. Really strong emotion. And even from Catwoman's side, like that was her lover, right? That was her
Yeah.
friend. That was her, her girlfriend.
Yeah.
And and then she is the daughter of
Carmine
Doc
Falcone. Yeah.
Falcone.
That's pretty.
That's cool.
It's not in every comic. I don't think every comic arc, but that's a pretty strong, pretty common theme. Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought that was awesome. And then so she's connected to that group, and then the deal that Bruce's father makes just because mother Arkham. By the way, I didn't know that. I didn't know that all the connections between like the Waynes and
Yeah.
yeah, like that was that
The
she had
Arkhams. They're both like very strong founders,
powerful,
like Gotham. Yeah.
right? Yeah, and so even a man like that, kind of went and didn't expect him to be killed, and then was going to turn him in, and then you know who killed his father, all that kind of stuff. It's just is great. There's just a good backstory to all of it. And then that's all going on while the Riddler is trying to bring it all into the light. And you're like, wow, the Riddler has figured out what Batman and others could not do, which was to figure out who was holding the reins of power truly in the city. And it is the Riddler who brings that to light. So in some weird, odd way, he's like this, I don't know, like not hero, but like anti-hero, whatever, brings this all to Batman's attention.
Yeah.
Otherwise, which would not have
He thinks he and Batman.
are
He
a
thinks
team.
Batman's on his side. Yeah, I know.
We're a
Yeah.
team. What do you do? Like I was like, oh, it all was starting to click. I'm like, oh my God, he really did he took him out, bring him into the light. And he did.
Yeah.
And he shot him.
Yeah.
It's just like, what?
It's so good.
Yeah, it is.
Also,
Yeah.
yeah, Colin Farrell, totally
I know.
unrecognizable in this role, but
I
he's a
know.
great Penguin. He's getting an HBO Max show.
Wait, what do you mean?
So they have planned 3 HBO Max shows to like expand this Batman verse. One is going to be Colin Farrell Penguin show. Then they're doing a Gotham like PD one.
Really?
I think with Gordon, the guy who plays Gordon, and then
Wow.
they just announced they're probably going to do another one, which is like an Arkham thing, something inside Arkham to build this up. Right now, Matt Reeves has said he has no plans to introduce like a Wonder Woman and a Superman into
Mhm.
this world, but there are, I guess, apparently deleted scenes. There's like a deleted Halloween scene where people are walking around in like a Superman and Wonder Woman costume, like people at
Oh, yeah.
Halloween.
Yeah.
So not like a Superman, but like so that Superman and Wonder Woman do exist in this universe,
Mhm. Also, what a great idea to do the Halloween thing and
right?
everyone's dressed up and stuff. I was like, this
Yeah,
is wild.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the comics that this is based off of, um, the the 3 that he says inspires him is actually I have one of them here. Batman Year One,
Mhm.
which is really 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 good. It's like a Batman origin story. It's done by Frank Miller, who he worked on like Sin City and the best Batman story ever. I mean, if not the best comic book ever written, The Dark Knight Returns. The Dark Knight Returns is the one where Batman fights Superman. It's like what Batman vs Superman's heavily based off of, and Batman beats Superman.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, with the help of the Green Arrow. But yeah, so Batman Year One is like that is one of the heavy influences on this. It's like a low tech Batman sort of meeting Gordon. I know this is in theory like a year two Batman, but it still draws like heavy sort of inspiration from it. Then the second is what I think is probably the second best Batman story ever, which is The Long Halloween. And what it is it's this big story. They actually just did an animated special of it. But it's this really really good story about around it starts on Halloween and it goes like a whole year, and there's all these killings that take place like on specific dates
Mm-hmm.
throughout the year. It's actually a sort of a Two-Face story,
Okay.
because he becomes Two-Face throughout this whole deal. But it has to do with the crime bosses and all that stuff. And the same thing, Catwoman is in it, and Catwoman and Batman are kind of beginning their relationship together. And same thing, it ends with her like she's Carmine Falcone's daughter. The whole deal. So like it pulls heavy from there. And then another one he said is Batman Ego, although I'm kind of unfamiliar with that one, so I don't really know very much about it. I would say Hush too, which is another one, which is actually kind of this Riddler kind of story, to be honest, where it's a totally different Riddler than you kind of think. There's an animated special on it too that's really all of the DC animated stuff. I talk about it every time, but it's like, I mean, it's really good. Like it is really good. It's all on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's really cool. Dude, I still can't get over all of the connections to just see. And I don't know any of that. The actual like you're expanding on sort of the influences and stuff, because this felt so just
different,
good,
yep,
fresh. But at the same time, I knew who this was. But the mystery inside of it, the detective story, him working with Jim Gordon, that is the best part,
right,
answering the riddles. And he seems so smart, right? Batman's like, I got it. Like what do you call whatever someone who lies still, right? Or
right,
a liar when he's dead.
yeah,
That whatever, he's lying still.
yeah,
There's just things like that, and then you look at the body and you think it's so obvious. And Batman gets all these things, and then at the end, he didn't get it all. He didn't
yeah,
see the greater picture. He didn't see the tool that was like covering the rug. I mean, such kind of crazy, obscure
right.
stuff.
Yeah, that's what's great. Like this like if you replace this, here's the thing. If you took this movie and you replaced like Batman with it and you just made it like, I don't know, Dick Tracy or something, and it was just like a detective movie, like
Mhm,
it would still be, in all honesty, it would probably do better in the Academy Awards because they hate superhero movies. Like
mhm.
if it was just, this is just a detective movie, like it's got
I
that
They can't ignore
classic.
this one.
No, they can't.
They cannot.
They can't. It's got like just this classic like detective thriller thing going on, and it's got Batman into it too. That's why for me the funny thing is that all of the Batman stuff, it's like if you ever read the comics, he's a detective. He's literally solving crime. The first comic is Detective Comics.
Right.
It's kind of like how Superman like thing is actually like Action Comics. Like that's
Mhm.
where it started, and then it was this character Superman. It's like, well, there was Detective Comics, like
Yeah.
DC, right? Like that's
Right.
the
Right.
whole deal. Where it all starts is Detective Comics, right? It's
Yeah.
Batman. He's a detective,
Yep.
and that's the whole deal. And so this is the first really detective movie that Batman is in, to
Yeah.
be honest. Like The Dark Knight is much more, it feels like Batman's going up against a terrorist, and it's great. I love The Dark Knight. To me is like up
Oh, yeah.
until few days ago, and then of course I have Zack Snyder's Justice League up there too. That's just because it's the first Justice League movie we've ever gotten. That's like great, but I love that because it's like the best to me it's like the best Superman story we've ever gotten.
Mhm.
um but it's like, they're similar, but they're different, whereas like this is more of a Batman movie, that's more of a Joker movie.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, man. I know. It feels really good. But like you said, when you
It's a
can
lot to
add,
process.
it is a lot to process. And when yeah, I don't know. This better win all the freaking awards. It better win a lot. Like Robert Pattinson himself should win some awards for this. Like, I want to go back to a couple more things here, just before
Yeah,
we finish it, because for me, my biggest takeaways were this was the cinematography, the lighting, as we said, was so phenomenal. The acting was good, the story, the plot, all of that was one. The music was good. I don't know what
Oh,
that
it's great.
song is that they're playing. I
The
feel like I've heard that.
dun dun
Yeah,
dun
yeah,
dun. So
yeah.
yeah, so that he kind of created. There's a Nirvana song too. It's really like
Nirvana.
three.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
that
Nirvana song. Yeah,
that still though had all the tone. It had everything like in it. But then if you really listen, they had everybody the audio production, like just the voices and the crispness of it. I was like, what
yeah,
that I mean, I didn't know that was Colin Farrell. Had no like the penguin.
yeah.
What? I mean, that was awesome. And then all of the villains just had those villainous voices. Robert Pattinson's voice was awesome. It just was well cast, like really, really good. And I can't explain. There was like a richness
Right.
to the dialogue in the audio that just felt
Right.
really
It's
good.
it's yeah, it's I mean, it's not only a great story, it's a beautifully shot story. I mean, so like so much
Yeah.
of it, it's like it's the whole picture. I mean, there's great it's like it's the thing about the lighting and the cinematography is the cinematography is so good that it stands out so
Oh
immediately.
yeah.
Like it almost overshadows the movie. I mean,
I was
that's for me why I'm like it's the best. It's probably the best movie I've ever seen because I it's rare to find movies that
yeah,
have this great of cinematography.
I
I
know.
mean, it's just it and it fits the tone just so well.
And it didn't change.
Where
Sometimes you
right,
see it in one or two scenes and it kind of goes away. But like you said, they kept this at night and they kept this dark. And even when you did go into places where like they went to the funeral and stuff, it's still overcast. You still did things with shadows. That whole funeral scene was really well lit and stuff. I can't explain. I don't normally notice that stuff. Truly, I'm not normally into it. And like you said, Matt, right out the gate when I was seeing cop cars going down, like the reflection going up on like windows and stuff, and just the opening shot and just like
right,
as the Riddler standing behind the mayor, you can see all these lights moving. You can see the city alive outside. You know what I mean? Outside
right.
these big
Yeah,
windows. You're just like, dang, this is I'm there. I was right
yeah.
there. And that's how why it was even more scary just to have him standing there.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's I mean, it's just it sets the tone for the whole deal. I mean, the lighting and everything in this and the score, like it's in all honesty, what the thing about it is it's so simple.
Mhm.
Like the score itself is like dun dun dun, but it's like
Yeah.
so heavy. First of all, Michael Giacchino, I think is how you say his name,
Mhm.
is he's such an I don't know, he's an underrated composer because he did the Rogue One theme. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, he did music for Rogue One, and one of
Okay.
the things I love about the Rogue One soundtrack is it's the first few notes of it sound like the Star Wars theme.
Mhm.
Like if but then it goes into its own thing. There are moments in here where I hear like they did this with like the Man of Steel theme a little bit, where you can hear it sort of it's ramping up and it's got its own thing, but you hear a little bit of like the Danny Elfman like Batman, like cartoon and the obviously the first two movies theme in there. And then
Right.
there's a few moments where you hear some of like the Hans Zimmer like Dark Knight, that one's like dun dun, it's a little bit different. A little you hear a little bit of that in there too. There's like the same thing they did in the Hans or I think Hans Zimmer did that music too. I'm not entirely sure who did the Man of Steel theme. But you hear a little bit of that like John Williams theme in there too.
Yeah.
And then it comes sort of crashing in. And it's one of the things I think that DC does very well with is when like um it's just like these characters are so iconic and so sort of classic that when you keep a lot of the other stuff simple and you just give like the focus to the looks of these characters and everything, they just come across the screen so well. Like all of the most iconic shots I think of when I think of Batman are like one like light bulb, like above it, and then it's dark, and here's this character like in all black, like
Yeah.
holding somebody up. I mean, for me, it's like when I think of the Dark Knight, the first thing I think of is the scene of him just like blasting the Joker in the face
Oh,
in the interrogation room.
yeah. Yep.
Or I think of like the warehouse scene in Batman versus Superman, where Batman is like, taking on like he just
Mhm.
wrecks
Mhm.
all those guys. or even like Michael Keaton's like I'm Batman, right? And he's got the guy and he's like on the ledge, like that's
Yeah.
and this movie's like nothing but scenes of that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, they everything just felt epic. Everything that he did was just really, really, really cool. And they're so by the way, it's so well balanced. I had no problem with the time other than you gotta take a bathroom break, maybe
it's
during
only
the
yeah, people say it's a 3-hour movie, but it's really only 2 like, somebody broke it down, it's like, yeah, but, like, half of that is I mean, like, 10 to 10 minutes of that is, like, credits. So it's really, like it's, like, 2
Mhm.
hours and 40 minutes. Like, that actually sounds a lot better. Like,
Yeah,
that's, like, 20 minutes longer than what you most people consider to be, like, a long because 2 hours is, like, normal
yeah.
runtime, and, like, 2 hours, 20 minutes is kinda, like, long, so it's just a little over 2 and a half. It's really just over 2.5 hours.
And I had no problem with it though, right? You know,
No.
slightly longer, give us a bit more. The car chase again with Penguin was awesome. I think that you needed all of those scenes. You needed all that different stuff, and it just gave all those different characters time to breathe and work and interact with each other and to tell this story. I read an article where he was talking. Is he Matt Reeves? Is that
Yeah.
yeah? Was talking about the cut and how he cut this up, and this was being I guess tested or whatever in front of screen tested in front of an audience, and everyone was just so in love with the plot points and the riddles and the story and where this was going that you can't really cut any of those clues out. You can't you
Right.
really want to keep all of that in there and weave this story and take people on this journey with Batman, with Robert Pattinson, and you're just figuring this out along the way with him, and it's fantastic. And so that's why I'm glad that they give people just tell a good story, right? The runtime gets in the way sometimes where they're like, well, it has to
Right.
be here. If you need an extra 5 to 10 minutes, by God, that could make or break things sometimes. So
Yeah, I
just
know. It's one
give
of
it.
the it's when anytime I would it's like I'd much rather a movie be too long than too short.
Mhm.
Because when it's too short, it feels like I mean, that was one of the things that hurt. Remember, it's like Batman versus Superman came out, and it was like the theatrical cut was like 2 hours, and it's like, dude, we're like missing something here. And then we get the
Right.
director's cut, and it's 2.5 hours. Literally, half an hour of film is a lot of film.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
then it's Justice League, and it's like, what's going on here? And it's like, oh, the actual cut's 4 hours. That's
Right.
twice the movie.
It
Like,
is. It is. Well, and that's
and
the
then
thing.
you watch Rise of Skywalker, and it's like, dude, there's got to be a longer cut out here because
Tons.
it's just like
Tons.
it's like,
Tons missing. Tons missing. They
yeah,
shot all those things, and Don Monahan, who was in the Rise of Skywalker, said, "Guys, we shot tons of stuff, and it's not in
yeah,
it." Not in it,
yeah,
but a lot of his character too was just not in it, and so you hear that from people, and it's like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. They shoot a lot more, and
right,
then they're going to cut up their story the way they need to, and some things don't make it in. That's so I don't know. I as long as it makes sense and it's cohesive, and this just was seamless. I mean, I felt
yeah.
like it was really good. I was wore out from the like I almost like I'm like on this high with the Riddler, and then he like he has to take a seat while Batman goes and saves everything. I'm like, I've about
Which,
had
by
it.
the way, that was great. I love that. I love the ending too,
Yeah.
where he's got to go take out those Riddler guards.
Mhm.
It felt like that's the weight of the ending felt like, oh, this could happen, or like some of these people are gonna die, and like you don't know
Yeah.
who. I thought they were gonna kill them that mayor. I was like, well, I
Me
don't know. We
too.
might go in a totally different direction
She got
too.
shot. Yeah.
Right. It's one of the things where it's like the stakes. Anytime you can have a superhero movie, and this is why I think the superhero movies where the stakes matter at the end
Mhm.
are the ones that are the best and are the
Yeah.
best are the best moments, right? I mean, the reason the Dark Knight, is considered probably by most, probably still, even after this, we'll give it time to see. The reason The Dark Knight is like considered the best superhero movie ever is at the very end, you have shown us scene after scene after scene of the Joker being steps ahead
Yeah.
of Batman and the police. And now we have a moment in which there's two boats, right? And we've
Mhm.
got the detonators,
Oh, yeah. Oh, my. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like, and they it's not just I've got it. They show the people and it's like convicted guards and you literally I don't know, man. One of these people might kill the other.
Right.
Like
Right.
there for a while, I thought maybe the good people will kill the bad people because it's like, well, then
The one
they're
guy
gonna go
takes
into
it, throws it out the
right.
window.
The bad guys take it and throw it out the window. Didn't see that coming.
Right.
I thought maybe if they do press it, they'll both blow up, and the
Right.
Joker will be like, "See, I told you," and then Batman will defeat the Joker, and there'll still be
Exactly. And it was, but the thing was, it was all out of the Batman's hands. Wasn't in
more.
his hands. It was in Gotham's
Right,
hands. And you're like,
exactly.
wow.
And that's what makes it so good, is because the stakes are there and they matter.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, in this movie, it's like you solved all these riddles, but you haven't solved the biggest one yet.
No.
And I've got this all geared up, but they've laid little breadcrumbs along the way, and then it comes to the end, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be really bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was great. And
Because
then
yeah.
no, go ahead.
Well, because we're all tied. Because really, after you said it in this review, even as we're talking, because I was very early, I only seen it once, and I got to go back and watch it again. I want my dad to watch it when it comes out on HBO Max, all that kind of stuff. But like, I was the whole way bought into this. They're going to expose Bruce Wayne or Batman as Bruce Wayne,
Right.
and that's what but the other breadcrumbs are there. You missed. You're so worried about the Batman being exposed that you missed it. Like, he's exposing other major cracks in the city, the renewal fund, all these other things, the working class versus the upper class, all this stuff that's right there. But what do we care about? The Batman. And
Right.
what should we? And then it just totally flips, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah. And then one more scene here, and then we'll dive into just some other stuff too, like sequels and what do we think of the Batman and all that stuff. Who's our favorite, all that kind of stuff. The scene, actually, one of the scenes I just took away just in my one watching of this that just stuck out with me. The scene actually where Batman and Catwoman are driving the final thing where they're driving through the graveyard,
Mhm.
and they're driving, and then they both have
Yeah.
to turn and go in their opposite directions, because that is sort of like their relationship, where
Mhm.
it's like they always kind of come back, but
Yeah.
she can never they can never fully sort of commit to each other, because he
Right.
will always have to like save the city. And all
Yeah.
of a sudden she's, as he realizes this is what I have to do. It's tragic, and that's kind of the whole deal. Is
Yeah.
this tragic?
Yeah.
It's this tragic story. But he still looks at her in the rear view mirror, right? He
Yeah.
doesn't just, he's still so
That's
good.
really
I
good.
just loved, love, love,
It's
love, love,
subtle, but
love.
it's huge. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
love that scene. Okay, so they do have, so the sort of quasi plan, it's never been stated, is that this could theoretically be a trilogy.
Okay.
We do see a Joker setup in this, and I think the two things they're sort of talking about doing is, one is going to be something to do with Arkham, and like an Arkham Asylum movie.
Okay.
Which is actually, by the way, this whole movie was originally supposed to be a Ben Affleck Arkham Batman movie.
What?
And like this movie was originally going to be part of the DCU. Ben Affleck was going to write it and like direct it. And it was going to be like because like it was going to be him versus Deathstroke. And then Justice League, Joss Whedon, version came out. It sort of
Right.
flopped, and like, all right, we need to kind of do some stuff. And then a lot of the actors were ticked that the Snyder cut didn't get released, and like all this stuff happened. So that was the original sort of plan of this
Okay.
whole movie. And then they decided, no, we're going to go in a different direction. I think because Joker happened, and it was like,
Right.
I mean, they're like, that was another domino, as Joker. Hey, this is
Yeah.
outside of the DCEU great movie. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to sort of do another Batman here.
Right.
Nonetheless, we got it, and it's freaking awesome. And then the other one is potentially Court of Owls, which is a sort of newer Batman story. It's part of the New 52. It's like the first comic in the New 52, and it is utterly amazing. And I hope that that's one of the things they go with. Both Paul Dano and Robert Pattinson have like if you watch interviews where they're asked about their favorite Batman stories, like Court of Owls. It's so
Really?
freaking phenomenal. Oh, it's so good.
Huh.
I have like the omnibus of it. I have like of the comics, because it is so utterly amazing. It's this story of actually this sort of secret society that operates in Gotham and it's like been around for like 100 years, and it's this Court of Owls, and they're basically like the ones that are like these super aristocrats that really kind of pull the strings under Gotham, and like Thomas Wayne, and like I forget the guy's name off the top of this, but yeah, like definitely have involvement in it, and they want Bruce because they know Bruce Wayne is Batman. They want him to become part of this like organization, like the Owls. Like
What?
there's again an
That's cool.
animated. It's been animated.
Yeah.
The animated version ties in a little more of Damian Wayne, who
Okay.
is and as does the comic run, which is the newer sort of Robin, which is Batman has a son with Talia al Ghul, who's Ra's al Ghul's daughter, who trains him in the League of Assassins, stuff like that. And so then she ends up kicking Damian Wayne off at his doorstep. And so he's an amazing Robin. And that's sort of the story. So I don't think they're going to do any of that stuff yet. They may introduce a Robin in this in this thing. They
In
haven't
this
announced.
with Robert Pattinson,
Maybe,
right?
yeah. That is
Okay.
it's up for talks. Yeah. But right now they said
Huh.
there's no talks currently to introduce like a new Justice League or something yet.
Okay. But you know what, my friend? That may come down the line because
Because well, they're about to flashpoint everything. So
well, and also this is so good. So when you do something like this, like I get that they started all the other stuff and there's elements that are great and like the Flash is cool and Wonder Woman. I have no idea what's been going on with Ben Affleck. What is
yeah,
going on with him?
he's like burnout. He's like burnout and just doesn't want to do it. It's so taxing. You have to be like in such. If you look how freaking stacked he is in
Right.
Batman versus Superman, and then if you look at him in the post credit scene of Justice League, because it's like
Yeah.
been years, he's like a lot more slimmed down. So like he's also like he's got like alcohol issues
Yeah.
and
Okay. Okay.
and
Yeah.
he's like got divorced, and it's
Yeah.
sad because I love Ben Affleck as Batman. I
Yeah.
absolutely love Ben Affleck as Batman. Plus,
Mm,
I'm a big defender of Batman versus Superman because it
yeah.
pulls like three of my favorite. Literally, the whole DC Zack Snyder run of the Justice League stuff for me is so good because it pulls from like literally every one of my favorite
Yeah.
stories. It's like it's Death and Return of Superman, which is hands down the best Superman arc.
Mhm.
It's Batman's Dark Knight Returns, which is the best Batman arc. And so
Mhm.
and then we get Flashpoint in there too. And it's like,
Yeah.
dude, these are all, I mean,
Those are awesome. Those are
like
huge moments. And if they could weave this in there somehow as a part of the Flashpoint situation, I think
right.
it'd be cool. It'd be a way to kind
Yeah.
of
Well, it actually already sort of happened. The Flashpoint stuff is actually really, you want to look at
Oh
the
yeah.
whole DC universe as a mythos. It's Crisis on Infinite Earth, the TV
Right.
show. And Ezra
Right.
Miller's been on that. And it's like
Has been on
so
that.
sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah, the
yeah.
DC did the multiverse
Yeah.
way before Marvel did.
Yeah. They just have to figure if you're gonna do all this together, it's sort of like I just wish there was more of a a plan. I don't
Right,
understand. Sometimes you're like, the Joker movie was so good, but it's just this standalone
right.
Joker film that
They
was
might it
great.
might it might get a sequel.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I mean, it's cool.
But it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of the things though too where I go back and forth on this like with Marvel is I mean, what is ultimately like ultimately the stuff that Marvel does where it's all connected is cool. But at the same time, like sometimes it ruins the immersion for me a little bit.
Mhm.
Like when I'm watching Eternals, okay? And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, you can tell me why the Eternals were not involved with Thanos. I get it. They
Mhm.
had to stay back.
Right.
But when a like obstacle comes out of the ground that is large enough to be seen from space and Doctor Strange doesn't immediately like warp to that exact location,
Yeah.
like it's unrealistic. There's just no
Yeah.
way
They've
that
taken it too
none
far.
of Earth's heroes,
Yeah.
yeah, like you have, and that's the other thing is like you have to now have all these other people be in everyone else's movies. And
Mhm.
so you don't get like the standalone movies are no longer standalone. I mean,
Right.
when's the last standalone Marvel movie? I mean, not like
Yeah.
not MCU. I mean, Spider-Man has Doctor Strange in it, as well as two other Spider-Man. Thor Ragnarok has the Hulk in it. Um, the other Spider-Man movies have like Nick Fury's in it, Iron Man's in one. It's called Captain America Civil War, but it's really an Iron Man movie with the Avengers.
Right.
So, these people don't really have like standalone movies anymore. Like you have to be connected into the whole deal. Whereas this, I can just sit down and watch Joker and it's just a start to
Yeah.
finish movie. I don't have to be involved. So there's give and takes to both.
Right. Yeah. It's just I think when they started this whole Zack Snyder thing, and then that cut comes out, and you're like, why was this guy just not given free? I mean, I know
Right.
he had some things going on in his family and stuff, but like this could have been
Right.
awesome. Like they were headed in that direction, and then to see this though, because this is kind of like a byproduct of
It's
like
I
that
know.
didn't work out, and then now
Right.
you've done something here that was unexpected and is phenomenal. So I'm all for it. Still telling this because to me the original Tobey Maguire being
Right.
Spider-Man. My students, by the way, wanted to look this up. They were wanting to know how old he was and all this kind of stuff,
I
and
know. It's
we were
like
looking into it. I was like, guys, that was my Spider-Man. Okay, that was
he is. Yeah, he is.
he was awesome. But it's just cool because that was fine, and then they wove that back in through a way of
Well,
multiverse stuff,
they're
which
about to
is
wrap the X-Men back in.
yeah, which is, I mean, go big.
It's cool. No, yeah, it's
But
awesome. Like
I
it
know how
is.
I can't take you out of it when you're like, okay, all this, you're forcing some things, or then some things don't make sense when you were trying to force everybody
Right.
in, the
Right.
Eternals. I haven't
So
seen yet, but
oh, you haven't seen Eternals? Okay, well,
yeah.
it's sort of it's an okay movie, but it's just and other things happen in other movies too. Like No Way Home isn't as like scary because like a lot of like a lot of the superheroes like I guess now are in New York or whatever. But in Eternals, like the way it ends is like this thing like gets lifted up from the ground that's going to like destroy the earth,
Yeah.
and it is so large that it can be seen from space. I mean, it's like the size of like Mount Everest. I mean, it's freaking enormous.
Right.
Okay, and so now it's this permanent fixture in the earth that
Oh
like you
god.
can see, and it's like in no way would that happen, and you would not have like Doctor Strange, who we've literally seen like warp like to every other place imaginable,
Mhm.
like not show up and be like, what's going on? It is so large. It would like, it just kind of becomes unbelievable when you're watching these things and you're like,
Yeah, where's he going?
why aren't the other superheroes here to
Yeah.
see to see what's going on?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a thing. Whereas this, I can watch it. It's a standalone movie. So I actually kind of hope they don't introduce Justice League characters into this.
Yeah.
Maybe not right now. Like,
Do the trilogy. Do like a cool trilogy that's
right,
awesome, and then if you think it's great, because Iron Man felt like that when they first started. Like we're doing an Iron Man movie, and then there's gonna be more. I know it kind of
right,
didn't. They were down the line after they did other Marvel stuff, but still, it felt like that was it could be its own kind of contained
right.
thing. So you could do this just to start, see how it goes, tell a whole arc,
Right.
and
If you
then
keep it smaller, it feels like that's one of the, I guess, the cool things about the DCEU currently is like it's still small. I mean, they're constantly adding characters, stuff like that. It's going to get so big, but then it gets so big, and it's like they're just like stepping over each other,
yeah,
which is one of the things. And now it's like they finished the whole Avengers saga in Marvel, and it's like we got to go to the multiverse, and it's like, oh, okay, it's like a lot. And
yeah,
I mean, like, it's like a lot.
yeah,
So yeah, I think DC also is best when the characters are sort of like held. I mean, Batman has the best villains of all.
yeah.
So
Yeah, you want to see him go through those villains. Yeah, give him his time to go do that before he's running off fighting
yeah,
Lex Luthor and stuff. So,
yeah.
yeah.
There have been fan castings and people who people have suggested to potentially like play Superman and stuff like that.
Wow.
So there was a lot of talk beforehand of actually Tom Welling, because
Whoa.
Tom Welling and Robert Patterson are good friends.
Shut
And
your mouth.
I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but
I would lose my ever living if they tied the Smallville universe
yeah.
into this Batman, I would lose
I
my
wouldn't know that
mind.
they would tie Smallville into it, but that you just
I
have
would be
him
a
play.
quasi kinda, I mean,
You could just have him play one. The current big fan casting of who everyone wants to play a Superman alongside this Robert Pattinson is Alan Richson, who played
Oh, yeah.
actually
He's in
he
The
played
Reacher?
Aquaman. Yeah, and he played Aquaman in Smallville,
Smallville, yeah.
and then he's in Titans as Hawk. And then he plays a Reacher right now, but he's like so freaking stacked. Like,
Yeah.
and he like a lot of people want him to play Super. I think he'd be a pretty good
Yeah.
Superman. He's built and I mean, he looks like that. Like
Yeah,
when
he
I
does.
think of Superman, he looks like him.
Absolutely. He's that's a great one. Kinda
Yeah.
cool that I do remember him as Aquaman back in the
Right.
day. Love Smallville. Oh my
Yeah. So
gosh.
okay. So all right, we'll dive into it here just real quick.
Yeah.
favorite Batman movies, and then I guess where are we ranking the Batman in some key categories here, like favorite superhero movies ever or favorite DC movies? What are we looking at?
Okay, let me pull up a list of that played Batman. Because right now this could be proximity, but I mean, I've always loved Christian Bale. I thought he did a great job. I know Michael Keaton did a wonderful job. Val Kilmer, right, was excellent.
Yeah.
You said this on Twitter the other day. I saw you said George Clooney did a great job. You
I
know?
think I think it was the script. I think George Clooney was given a terrible script. I actually really would have loved to have seen him in. And George Clooney's an amazing actor. Like of all of the people, I feel like he would have been the best Bruce Wayne if you sort of just view it,
Yeah.
as is.
Well, I guess for me, when I think of Batman, I still do think of Christian Bale.
Yeah.
A lot, because we went to the midnight showings, we did the whole
Right.
thing, and we freaking loved it, and it was fantastic. Although I am a huge fan of Robert Pattinson, huge,
Yeah.
and a lot of things that he's done. I think even just as he's a singer songwriter too. He did a couple things that were like he was like a handful of little songs that I'm like, that's cool. And I was unsure when he was first cast in this. He was kind of there were some jokes going around, you know.
Yeah.
People were like, really,
People
really
made fun of Ben
uncertain.
Affleck when he got cast.
Yeah, and I just think, okay, hold on a second. And they both went in, knocked it out, and did a wonderful freaking job. You know, they because I think Ben Affleck is also really good as Batman. And we're gonna mention more of the recent ones because Val Kilmer was also really good.
I think
I thought
again,
he
I
was
think
good.
again, I it's that movie, the non Tim Burton movies get smashed as being like bad Batman movies, but that doesn't mean like certain aspects of it weren't good. I think he looks good as Batman.
Yeah. So I guess for me, I love Christian Bale. I just thought he was
Right.
cool because it was just I don't know. We saw 3 movies of that, but if I saw 3 movies of this, it's this. I love this movie more than I love that entire trilogy for like the Dark Knight trilogy.
Right.
Truly, because I thought it was so beautiful. I thought it was so wonderful. And again, I have to go back and watch more. I mean, Liam Neeson's in the freaking
Right.
what's Batman Begins or whatever, which is awesome. Ra's al Ghul or whatever. That was cool. That was something I didn't know much about in the Batman universe, and so those movies really were great. And to have the Joker in there and just all of that was wonderful. But this was the Riddler, and they took, if you're going to call it like a B level kind of villain, as you said earlier in the show, and then now you're saying he felt like an A level guy. Like it felt like he had Gotham by the throat. And I just was impressed by it, and I'm impressed by the relationship. So right now, my favorite is Robert Pattinson, just because he also all the critics were out there kind of, I don't know, they're making fun of him for Twilight and
Yeah.
Harry Potter and things like that, and now he's Batman. Back
Yeah.
off, and he's a
Hey.
great Batman.
Yeah.
So, who's your favorite?
So yeah, for me, right now it's still a little hard for me to put him above Ben Affleck as my Batman, just because I just love I think I really want, and I don't know that we'll ever get it, but you never know. Never say never, because you put the money down, and the next thing you know, so wow, they're returning to play Batman. And who literally thought that Michael Keaton would ever play Batman again?
Mm-hmm.
It's just because I don't know, I just really love Ben Affleck's Batman.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that those are better movies for the
No.
whole picture, but yeah, Robert Pattinson, I think I have as my number 2. I love Christian Bale. For me, again, so much of it is just it's the bat
Madness.
suit, and I'm not ranking bat suits,
Right.
but it's part of the deal. I mean, I love obviously Christian Bale as Batman.
Yeah.
But I think I have Robert Pattinson above it a bit, just because again, this is a younger Batman. I mean, Christian Bale's is Batman Begins, and then The Dark Knight, and then The Dark Knight
Mm-hmm.
Rises. I
Mm-hmm.
like him actually more as he progresses.
Yeah.
But like, he is almost to me more of a Bruce Wayne struggling with being Batman, as opposed to Batman struggling to be Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And I think that's the flip. And so I tend to like the people who are more like Batman than Bruce Wayne, as opposed
Yeah.
to Bruce Wayne with Batman. And it's great. It's a great, obviously the stories and everything are great. I'm just talking particularly about the portrayals. But I mean, Christian Bale looks like it. So it's like, for me, it's like I like Christian Bale more when I'm seeing him as like Bruce Wayne. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing. Also the Bat voice, you know,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
good. Yeah. And then so much, again, it's just it's the costume.
Well,
His Batman. Let me pull up pictures just because I have to show you what I'm talking about. And I like when
yeah.
you actually see it, like it's the cow. It's so much of it is the cow. This drives me nuts. I
Yeah.
just hate it. His Batman Begins suit is actually way better than his Dark Knight suit.
Yeah.
Way better.
Dang. I see it now. I see it.
When you stare at it and you see them side by side, like if you had it cut out, people have done like Photoshop of what it would look like, and it looks like so good. Christian Bale's like a gorgeous guy, dude.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why that choice was made, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, yeah, he does. He has a stacked Ben Affleck. So you mentioned the idea that you have a Bruce, and then you've got Batman, right?
right.
So with Robert Pattinson, I feel like it's all I know him. It's just the Batman, really. I don't really see him a lot in this
as
Bruce.
Twilight.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what
As
you're
Bruce.
saying. Yeah, right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, again, I didn't have any of those vibes either of any of his other films. Some people say, well, you can't put him in because of all the connections and all the fan love for
Michael Keaton was a comedian.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
But
now I will say this bat suit is I can say that this bat suit is my second favorite bat suit. Behind Michael Keaton's. Michael Keaton's is just too like it's number one for me, and it'll probably always forever be number one.
Right. Yeah. Oh gosh.
But yeah, 10. I mean, for me, this is the movie I will go back to, and I can't wait to see what they do with the sequel. Because if the sequel is better, it's like,
yeah, I can't either. And do we know who that Joker was or who's?
Yeah, we do. You haven't seen Eternals, so you may not be familiar with this actor.
Yeah. I thought that both of them laughing at the end was ridiculous. The Riddler laughing.
Barry Keegan or Cogan is his name.
Okay. Oh wow.
Yeah, he's in Eternals. He's really good in it.
Wow. That's gonna be interesting. And he feels younger. They all feel younger.
Yeah, they are. This is like a year 2 Batman.
Yeah, which is cool. So
so it's gonna be cool. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, hey, that is our The Batman sort of review, initial discussion. I'm sure we could talk about it a lot more, but you know, we're already over an hour, so keep it with that. I highly recommend it. Normally I see Batman movies in theaters like 3 times, but this one's coming to HBO Max in 40 days. So I'm just gonna wait and then watch it on my projector a million times and analyze the holy crap out of it. But to me, it is a 10 out of 10. I have it as my number one comic book movie ever, period. I mean, it's like that, The Dark Knight, and then the list begins. Zack Snyder's Justice League I have up there too. That's kind of a personal thing, but yeah.
Yeah, Matt, it's one of the best movies I've seen in such a long time. Like I liked Spider-Man like No Way Home, which was awesome, but I was like, it's already gone out of my mind. That's
fun. This is fun.
This is real. This seriously happened in Gotham, and we need to pay attention. All right, that city's under siege, and Batman's the only one there who's fighting for it.
Oh, absolutely awesome. All right, guys. So hey, thank you guys for listening. As always, you know, we will see you guys next time.